Hello there, everybody! Welcome back to the Nobody Cares podcast.
Rest in peace, headphones users. Rest in peace.
I'm your one host, Adam, and this is my other host.
I'm Jared. How's it going? What's up? Good to be back.
Wheel of Random, turn. Tell us the bullshit that we shall be talking about today. In a random format of bullshit that we were probably not even going to stick with.
Wait, we're not doing this anymore? What? That's news. I kind of hope we do. I like this. I don't know what else it would be.
Comedy.
That's the subject. Nice. Okay. First of all, do you have a favorite comedian? Oh, you know what? Actually, okay. Here's a better question. A favorite comedian that is dead, and also a favorite comedian that is alive. We can go with both of those. You can go first, and then I'll go.
In terms of comedian, I would definitely say that my favorite past comedian would definitely be Robin Williams.
I'm just going to jump in and say that's mine, too.
Yes.
A comedian that's dead, Robin Williams, 100%.
Like, Robin was a huge inspiration to me for, like, years. He was the one person who, like, hearing his passing was actually one that actually wounded and hurt.
Yeah.
When I heard about it. Because when I first heard about his passing, I thought it was a joke. Because that whole Facebook fake death thing was going around.
Right.
And so when I heard about it, I was like, that's just that Facebook fake death bullshit thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But yeah, his death was one of those that it hurt a lot when I found out that it wasn't a fake Facebook death.
I know, because he just brought a bunch of people so much joy, and he was just so wholesome. And, you know, if you ever watched a lot of his older stand-up stuff, I mean, yeah, he could be vulgar. But he had such a good range. Like, it was, I don't know, he was a great comedian.
Yeah, I loved watching his stand. I loved watching his
stand-up. I did, too. I liked his stand-up, and I liked his movies. I liked pretty much everything he was involved in.
I think the only movie of his that I saw that I wasn't just really big on was World's Best Dad.
I actually never saw that one.
I don't think it's one of his best known movies. Because I kind of feel like that movie was made... I feel like it was one of his latest movies before his death, potentially.
Yeah, okay. And, you know, he did a lot of feel-good movies, too, where it wasn't so much comedy. Like, one, I remember very vaguely, I don't remember a whole lot of, but Good Will Hunting, you know, he was in that one, and he didn't really so much play a comedic role as just sort of like the wise older guy in the situation. But I definitely liked a lot of his comedy roles. One of my favorite movies he was in was probably Jumanji. I freaking loved Jumanji. He was great in that.
My personal favorite would probably kind of be a split between Miss Doubtfire.
Oh, yes.
And...
Miss Doubtfire was great.
I can't really decide between Flubber or Aladdin. I would probably say Flubber in terms of, like, movie
Flubber,
that he
too.
was the... I mean, you could argue if he was the main star of Aladdin or not. But,
I think he stole the show.
Yeah.
You know, I look at it similar to... the new Mario movie. A lot of people are saying Jack Black as the Bowser kind of stole the movie. He wasn't like the main character. That's kind of how I see Robin Williams as the genie. He wasn't the main character, but he stole the show straight up.
Definitely. And I love the story of how they got him to apply for that role, in which literally they went and took one of his stand-ups, and they animated the genie to the stand-up.
I didn't know that.
And showed it to him. This is what we want to do with the character. And they showed him a clip. And it's like, you know what? Okay.
That's brilliant. I never knew that.
And then, like, when they were directing him, like, they gave him, like, a guideline to what they wanted, but otherwise they just let him go nuts.
Yeah.
Which you can basically tell with all the, like, references and like jokes and whatnot. It's why Aladdin is probably my favorite Disney movie.
Oh yeah, I have to agree. Did you ever see Patch Adams? Did you ever see that one?
I never saw the full thing. I know what the movie is, and I've seen bits of it, but I never saw like the whole movie.
That was. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it was really good. To me, Patch Adams sort of, like really encompassed to me what Robin Williams was all about. In that, he wanted to help people and make people feel better by making them laugh. He wanted to bring joy into people's lives. And Patch Adams is sort of like, I can't remember, but I think he was like faking himself being a doctor. I don't remember why, but his whole shtick was, I'm not really a medical professional, but I'll make you laugh, you know. And that was sort of his whole thing in that movie. And it was,
because like if I remember right, he was basically like a guy who went through a children's ward of all these like terminally ill kids.
Yeah.
And his whole goal was just to make them laugh.
Yeah.
And like he was not going to be able to like heal them, but he would be able to make things easier to a point.
Right.
He can make the passing a little less dark and dreary.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And to me, Patch Adams was very much that. And he had a couple of pretty good speeches, I believe, too, in Patch Adams, where he was explaining himself to the doc when he finally kind of got ousted, like, hey, you're not a real doctor.
Yeah, and he got brought before the court.
Right. But to me, like, I don't. It's been so long, I can't really say if it was really a great movie or not. But it did it encompassed to me who Robin Williams was, at least how he presented himself to everyone, which is,
and that was the other thing that I loved about Robin is like he could do comedy or like surprisingly enough he could do serious movies like really very well. Yeah. Like that's what Good Will Hunting was.
Yes,
it was a pretty serious movie.
Yes,
and
he played a great part in that though.
Oh yeah, and like one part of it is like the writing of the movie itself and the direction of it.
Yeah.
But writing and direction have a influential part in it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. They go hand in hand.
If you're not able to actually
act it out
and portray what it is you're doing.
It comes down to can the actor,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, can the actor bring forth what the line or what the character is supposed to be? Robin was an excellent person to do that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was just what Robin was good at, was portraying the characters that he played.
Oh yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why he is on the top of the Rochester most influential for me.
As far as dead comedians go, yeah. I mean, he's 100% my pick too. Okay, I was trying to find. There's this other movie he did that I was a big fan of and actually watched a lot of. It was called Jack.
Oh,
have you seen that one?
Yeah, that was actually a movie I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
it's basically the movie where he was a kid that had that reverse aging thing.
Yes, exactly. So we've both seen that one. That one,
yes,
that's one of my favorites of his too. And I think Morgan Freeman was in that one too.
I believe so. Yes.
Because I think when Morgan Freeman's character when he was younger, he was a part of the same sort of club that these kids were in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that movie was I liked it as a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time. I can't speak for it now, but man,
good long time since I've seen it.
It was one of my favorites of his too, and he did a great job in that movie too. And there were some serious moments in that one too.
Now in terms of like present comedians or comedians that are still alive,
yes,
that's actually a little bit harder.
Do you want? Do you need time to think, or do you got one? Because I've got one. If you need time to think,
I might need a minute because I've got a good bowl full of comedians that I am big fans of, and I'm trying to decide which single one just registers most with me.
I understand. Well, while you're thinking, I can talk about mine. My current, and really this is kind of a recent development. And this is not me jumping on a bandwagon, but this is me like looking at the situation and just having respect. But I would probably say, as far as the ones I know, and I'm sure there are lots of very good comedians out there, and I can name several. But I think currently mine would have to be Chris Rock. And to be honest, like I've always kind of liked Chris Rock. There was this show he did, Everybody Hates Chris. I like the comedy in that one. But I like his goofy style of humor. But what's kind of won me over the last couple of years is this whole fiasco between him and Will Smith.
Oh, jeez.
Where Will Smith slapped him at the Oscars. And I've sort of been following a lot of that because it's just kind of interesting to me. And I think Chris Rock has handled the whole thing so well. I mean, so he sort of took it on the chin. And if you kind of go back and watch, he wanted it. It was almost like he was going to swing back, but then he stopped himself and he didn't. He handled himself professionally after it happened, and even went on to continue his bit, and really didn't miss a whole bunch of a beat. He just sort of stopped and was like, "Wow, I can't really believe that happened. Will Smith slapped me at the Oscars." Anyway, and he kind of just went on, and
like, I mean, I don't tend to like discuss Hollywood drama and whatnot, but what actually triggered that whole? Because like, I can actually
never
understood what actually triggered it.
Oh yeah, I can actually speak on this because I've mentioned this guy on this podcast before, but one of my favorite YouTubers that I like to follow is Spidey, the behavioral arts, the behavioral analysis, and body language analysis. He does a lot of those videos, and he pretty much did a deep dive on that incident at the Oscars, and I followed it through him, and it's fascinating. Like, if you kind of know, sort of what you're looking at and what you're watching. But basically, to sort of break things down and not draw it out too much, is it started off, Chris Rock was up on stage at the Oscars, and he was doing a little bit of stand-up in between, I guess, awards and stuff. And he made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, who is Will Smith's wife. Mm-hmm. And so, Jada and Will were kind of sitting there up toward the front watching the show. And at the time, Jada's head was pretty much shaved. She had no hair. And because she has I think it's alopecia. And Chris Rock made a joke about her. I think the joke was something to the effect of, "I hear you're going to be in the next G.I. Jane. Can't wait to see it." And it was just sort of an offhanded joke comment about her not having hair. Mm. So hilariously, before I go forward to sort of explain what happened, is the camera panned over to Will and Jada. Will was laughing his ass off at the joke. It showed him, like, Will was just like, "Hey, that was pretty funny." He was laughing. Jada had this look on her face where she rolled her eyes. It was pretty much just like, "Oh God, not this shit again." It's like she was tired of hearing about the bald jokes and stuff, and she was exasperated. Now, the camera did not show this, but it's pretty much inferred that what happened was Will sort of maybe at some point, pretty much right after that, looked over and saw his wife's expression, and something snapped inside him. And so Will got up on stage, went up and slapped him. So we don't really know because the camera kept sort of going back and forth, we don't really know, did Jada tell him to go up there and do that, or did Will do it on his own volition? I am of the mind that Will did that of his own volition. But it wasn't until he was laughing at the joke, he looked over at Jada, saw her expression, and then something snapped him in him, and he went up and did that. And not only that, he went back and sat down, and he was yelling at Chris Rock on the stage. He said it like 2 or 3 different times. "Keep my wife's name out your mouth." He said that like 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. It was this big sort of like, oh my God, what is actually happening?
Yeah, and then like the meme started afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, but not only that, I think the worst part of the whole thing was that later on, Will Smith won an award for, what was it, emancipation, or he had, no, it was It was the Venus and Serena Williams movie that he did, where he played the father of that. I can't remember the name of that movie, but you know the movie I'm talking about. Yeah. He won some kind of award for that, and everybody gave him a standing ovation. And now this was after the slap happened. Mm-hmm. And so everybody was pretty much in agreement online and everything that, like, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. He should have been kicked off like immediately for doing that. But okay, I say all this to say, the reason I say Chris Rock is my current favorite comedian is I saw a show he did recently. This was like basically a year after that happened, where he did a Netflix special. I can't remember what it's called, but he finally sort of addressed this whole thing and talked about it. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, he went in on everything he said and talked about in that performance was so good and on the nose. He didn't hold anything back. He went in on both Will and Jada, and he sort of explained, because the whole reason, or not really the reason, but everybody's kind of speculating why Will was upset and why he did what he did. He and Jada have sort of had problems because Jada sort of had an affair with this other guy, and they did this whole interview about it, and it was just this real awkward situation.
I've seen the tabloids.
It's just this real awkward situation, and Chris Rock pretty much addressed that. He's like, you know, whatever happened, she hurt him way more than he hurt me, you know. And a lot of the, you know, what he said was just perfection. Like it was just great. And so just watching him do that on stage, I was happy for him. I was actually kind of proud for him for kind of standing up for himself and was like, no, what happened was not okay. And he, you know, he makes light of everything, and he points out, like, you know, Will Smith is significantly bigger than I am. Like, Will Smith is basically double his size, because Chris Rock is not a tall guy. He's pretty small. Everything he said in that was just chef's kiss. Yeah. And that really won me over with him. It's like, you know what? Good for you for standing up for yourself.
And that does kind of fit Chris's comedic styling.
Yes, exactly.
I've actually not seen a lot of his stand. I've heard bits and pieces.
Oh, like, I love Chris Rock.
I know that there's one skit. Well, I don't know if you would say it's skit, but there was a
performance,
a part of a performance that I heard from my Spotify list.
Okay.
Because there was a long moment that I was using my Spotify to just listen to comedians.
Yeah.
Because used to, and I think they went back to doing this.
Yeah.
But used to, Spotify had the whole, like, you could just pick genres.
Yeah.
That you could...
I want to listen to this genre. Yeah. And then you get... It sort of does a playlist for you.
Yeah, it just makes, like, a radio playlist of that genre. Like, a rock genre. Like, you just hit the rock tab.
Any kind of genre.
Entire rock
Do they
playlist.
they have a comedy genre on there?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
So, I didn't know that.
What I did when I was working late night shifts was I just went through this phase just like I do with everything in my life. But yeah, they had comedy as one of the genres you could play a radio playlist to.
That's
on
really
Spotify.
cool. Yeah.
And I listen to...
I need to get on that myself.
It's where I actually found a lot of the comedians that I listen to currently.
Oh, nice.
But there was a Chris Rock skit that... Routine. That was the word I was looking for.
All right,
routine.
Cool. Yeah.
There was a routine of his that played on the list, and it was... like generic food brands, I believe it was.
Okay.
Basically, my mama never bought me any name brand food. Never name brand food.
By the way, and anybody who's watched Everybody Hates Chris, he really leans into that because it shows like the father of Chris is just like so stingy with everything. Like it's like, you know, lights are only allowed to be turned on in the house at certain times of the day and night. The air conditioning is only allowed to be turned on at certain points. Terry Crews was yes, 100% yes. Terry Crews was the perfect role for that.
I love Terry Crews.
I do too. Terry Crews is amazing. He would be one of my top favorites too.
Mm-hmm. And like the funny thing with Terry Crews is like he's a comedian, but he's not a comedian. Like he's not a stand-up comedian, but he's a comedian.
He's more of an actor, but he is a comedic actor, I would say. Yeah.
Like he pulls off the action hero thing. but he's also just fucking hilarious.
Yes, like he's great. The first thing I ever saw him in was White Chicks.
Oh
Did you
my
ever see
God,
White Chicks?
White Chicks.
Oh my God, that's the first thing. Yeah, great fucking movie. But that was the first thing I ever saw him in.
Yeah, I think that was the first movie I ever saw him in.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that time, I didn't know who the hell he was. I just thought they brought in some
guy to play that part.
And I forgive me for using this term or phrase, your stereotypical big, black, muscular guy.
Yeah.
And that's basically who I thought just thought they brought in, just actor who...
Oh my God.
I guess was gaining popularity or something.
Yeah.
And then I look back and say, oh, he was a football star.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I think he was. I think I've heard that a couple times. I'm actually not sure what he did before he became a comedian, but I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think he started off as a football star, and then he went to movies. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, a lot of people know him as the Old Spice Power Body Wash.
Yes, the Old Spice commercials.
I fucking love those commercials so much. I love them.
Yeah.
Power!
Oh yeah, he played like a paladin on a horse or something in one of those commercials.
It was him, or it was either him or the other guy.
Well, yeah, the other guy was on a horse too, but I distinctly remember Terry Crews in like the shining armor get up and like the sun rays behind him and yeah, I don't know, like he was great in those commercials.
Okay, so me and you basically had the same pick for past comedians. Your current favorite comedian, you would probably say, is Chris Rock.
100%, yeah.
God, there's so many.
Well, you can name more than one, you know. Why not?
I think if I was to just outright choose, like if these were comedians I wanted to go see, I would probably put, first off, Stephen Lynch.
Okay.
Stephen Lynch is a musical comedian.
Ah, okay.
And the stuff he has is, for me, it's bloody hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's musical comedy.
Yeah.
And he has that kind of, I guess in a way, because I've not actually heard a lot of Adam Sandler's stand-up just that much. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I've never watched a full performance.
But you know, Adam Sandler, he puts in some music stuff in his comedy too, so yeah.
And Stephen Lynch kind of has that Adam Sandler performance to him.
Gotcha.
He actually played Adam Sandler's role in the musical for Wedding Singer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a Wedding Singer musical, and when I found that out, I was blown away.
Interesting.
I was like, why did I never hear about this?
I've never heard about that.
Because I love Wedding Singer.
Yep, it's a good one.
Say what you will about Adam Sandler, and I don't understand the hate for Adam Sandler.
No, I
really
like Adam
don't.
Sandler. I like Adam Sandler.
But, like, I find his movies fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And even the ones that aren't comedies, I still find him really good in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a musical for Wedding Singer, and apparently Stephen Lynch played Adam Sandler's role.
Huh. Okay.
And I never got to see a live performance of it, and I hate that I never got to see a live performance. But he has on his Spotify list, he has a soundtrack from the musical.
Yeah.
And like it was just fun to listen to.
Oh yeah.
And like two of the songs that I can think of just off the bat that Stephen Lynch does, that kind of introduced me to him.
Yeah.
There's Beals.
Okay.
Which is basically him singing about Beelzebub in the gayest voice you could think of.
Awesome.
And then the other song is Medieval Bush.
Medieval Bush. Okay.
She knows what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm not familiar with these.
Medieval Bush is quite literally like if you were to take like a D&D bard and he sang about this woman with an like excessively
bushy bush
pronounced bush.
A very bushy bush. Okay.
And it's
interesting.
It's I find it hilarious. I've had other people listen to this song and they just like curl in disgust and whatnot. And I'm just like, how do you not find this? This is hilarious.
Damn.
Of course, another comedian that I would definitely say I would love to be able to go see would be Gabriel Iglesias.
Oh yeah, I love Gabriel Iglesias. Yeah, he's a good one.
I fucking love Gabriel. He is a great.
Oh, he's a great stand-up.
He's a great stand-up, and
yeah.
I especially love him because he
does the funny voices.
Oh yeah, he does great voices.
He does all the funky sound effects and weird voices. I just love it.
Yep.
because that's my shtick.
Oh yeah,
that's a shit that hits my button, like my funny button.
Anybody who can do very good voices.
Yes, I love comedians who are able to like get into their craft.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like if you're someone who like gets into the whole like with storytelling, because I'm one of those guys. I get active when I tell stories.
Yes,
as you've no doubtly noticed.
Yes, another good example of that. And now I'm questioning my first current comedian pick because Jim fucking Carrey is a prime example.
Okay,
I love Jim Carrey.
Now I love Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is like tied for top spot in my
I have to
most
agree with
favorite
that.
and influential actors. Now here's the reason I don't have him as my favorite comedian.
Okay.
This is probably going to sound odd coming from someone who loves Jim Carrey. I have actually never seen a stand-up of Jim Carrey's.
Oh, he has done some
and I'm aware.
stand-up.
I am fully aware that he's done stand-up. I just never had a chance to see it.
And I will say,
I've seen clips of it, and I've seen his stints on like In Living Color and Saturday Night Live, which are fucking hilarious.
Yes, great.
Like his,
but even in his stand-up that I've seen, he does get into the character. He gets animated just like he does in his movies and everything.
Yeah,
he gets
like he does the whole impersonation jokes and whatnot.
Yes. One of my favorite movies of his was The Mask, classic.
Yes,
The Mask,
hands down, The Mask. I could. If I had a refresher, because it's been a minute since I've seen the movie, but if I had a refresher, I would be able to act out that whole fucking movie, like line for line and scene for scene. Like I could probably recreate the whole movie just purely from memory.
No one else could have played that role. No one else could be, do what he did.
Like in high school, like I did impressions in high school and whatnot, and he was The Mask was the one character who I got asked to do most often because I could do The Mask.
Yeah.
And like once my voice had kind of changed because puberty, I couldn't hit the Mask voice as well, and it hurt my feelings a little bit that I couldn't. But that was a personal thing.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But I could still just hit the scenes like
perfectly. You can still do the scenes.
I could still do the bits.
Hell yeah.
I just couldn't do the voice as well as I used to be able to.
Have you seen the Ace Ventura movies?
Yes. Oh my god. Yes.
Love those movies, especially Pet Detective.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Pet Detective and When Nature Calls.
Yeah,
I don't
movies.
care. Just both of them.
Fucking hilarious.
Amazing movies. I love them so much. They're
me too.
They're again on that list of movies I could play by heart. Like I could just sit there and act out the entire movie while watching it.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, recently the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, he was really good in those.
Yes. Too. I will fully admit, I was very hesitant when I heard Jim Carrey playing the part of
I was too, because it's like, wait, him as Robotnik?
Because like, again, I love Jim Carrey,
right?
But when I heard that they had casted him as Robotnik,
I questioned it too. I did
wait, Jim?
Yeah,
as Robotnik.
Yep. It was weird for me too when I first heard it. It was kind of on that same level as Chris Pratt as Mario. Wait, what? That's an odd choice, So yeah. But he fucking killed it though. He was so good.
Have you seen it?
No, I mean Jim Carrey as in Sonic the Hedgehog. I've seen both of those.
As Robotnik.
That's what I meant.
Yes, yeah. He makes it his own character.
Oh yeah.
Like I go on the thing of he kind of made Robotnik his own.
He
character.
did, and it worked.
Oh yeah,
I think it worked. It was great.
He still pulls off that kind of "I'm better than you" attitude that Robotnik has.
But as he's doing that, it's his own comedic effect to it. It's like his own comedy acting, and
Yes.
it's really, really good.
And like I'm looking forward to if they are legitimately coming out with a third movie, which I can't help but feel like they probably are with as popular as this.
Yeah,
Unless I'm mistaken, and the second movie didn't do as well as I thought it did.
right, but it still did very, very well. It was like
And like
pretty
if
big.
they, and this is completely tangential, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with comedy.
Yeah.
But this is gonna be my biggest pin for the next Sonic movie because they fully suggested bringing Shadow.
ooh, I think they should. I think they should.
Now here's my thing.
Okay.
Shadow is one of those characters that after his initial introduction in I think Sonic Adventure 1 or 2, I can't remember which one.
Right, yeah.
During his initial introduction,
When he came in, yeah.
after that, I don't think Sega actually knew what to do with him after that.
Yeah, I think you're right about
Because
that.
later renditions of him have kind of been all over the place.
Yeah.
Especially in the games.
Yeah.
In the comics, he kind of has a slightly more, I guess you could say, even tone to his character.
Okay, yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm not that up to date on the comics.
I haven't read the comics
But,
either, other than what you and I have kind of talked about off, offline.
The biggest thing I'm gonna have for Shadow, if they bring him in the next Sonic movie, the voice. Because again, I'm a big voice guy.
Oh, what did you think about Knuckles? What they did with Knuckles? I liked
Idris Elba's
Yeah.
rendition of Knuckles.
I like it
was
too.
very well done.
Yes, I agree. And so the way they did
his
Knuckles
voice-
gives me hope.
Yeah, his
for
voice actually
Shadow.
fit the character quite well.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, most of the time when I've ever heard Knuckles being voiced by someone, that's more or less what I hear is like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that kind of deep and like regal
Yes.
tone.
Oh yeah, I thought it was great. I thought he did a great job as Knuckles. But to me, that kind of gives me hope that if they do bring in Shadow, they'll do a good job because of what they did with Knuckles. That
Yeah.
kind of gives me hope.
One thought I almost had, and I was just thinking about this one day, not recently, but I was thinking about it a few days ago. Is that if they bring in Shadow, who would be the best person to voice him? Like they would need to get someone who can actually pull off the way the character should be.
Do you have
Because
someone in mind?
Shadow's a very edgy charter.
Right,
Like,
he is,
He is
yeah.
edge.
Edgelord Sonic character. Yeah.
And the one person one of the very first people who came to mind for me, Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel as Shadow. That would be awesome. I actually agree with
I
you on
don't
that
know
one.
why.
Would be
That was
hilarious.
one of the first things that came to mind.
just
Was
like- okay,
Vin Diesel because
Vin
he
Diesel-
plays edgy characters.
He does. Vin Diesel in his like deep baritone voice, but also just like comedic. Just like saying like the deep baritone voice, but not being serious at all.
Yeah.
Like that would be perfect.
Like, I'm pretty
like
sure
that.
not a lot of people like remember this movie, and if you do, congratulations. But there was one movie that Vin Diesel was a part of, and it was called The Pacifier.
Oh, was he like the sort of the step-in nanny for like the kids? Or
Yes,
was that yeah,
he was
I have seen that
basically this like hardcore straight-laced Marine,
one. Military Marine,
guy,
yeah, right?
And the dad of this family, I believe, got killed or something. Like he died in an explosion,
something like that. Yeah.
And so he had to go protect the family from the terrorists that were trying to get the secrets of the military stuff that he was working on. And like, I thought that movie was hilarious.
I
loved it.
I liked the
Vin
Pacifier.
Diesel's
It was a good movie.
performance in that was like,
It was good.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was
now,
very good.
I can't say that a lot of people probably found it good because
No, I liked it for sure.
Like, it was one of those movies that had the over-the-top action sequences.
It did. Yeah, it did.
And it, in the sense of like really,
choreographed.
Corny. It was corny
It
action.
was, but I mean, it was like a kid's movie. It was like he was a
exactly.
babysitter, and so it kind of fit the theme of the movie. I thought, and it fit his character too. Like the action,
Yeah.
the action sequences did.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was different from all the other stuff that he was doing at the time.
Which I think maybe is why he did it. Is to sort of
Potentially.
shake things up a little bit. You know, a lot of
Potentially.
actors do that.
And of course, oddly enough, I found this out because from trolling YouTube when I was younger. Apparently, he has a lot of he had a sponsorship from Street Sharks. Okay, it was a. I don't know if it was I don't think it was Hasbro.
Okay, I'm not
But
familiar with
it
Street
was
Sharks.
it was kind of like that same field as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yeah, okay.
in the sense of Street Sharks were these four like
Were they like humanoid shark characters?
college. I think they were college guys.
Okay.
maybe teenagers. I'm not sure. It's been a good minute since I've watched Street Sharks.
All right.
But it was basically like these guys who their dad went missing.
Yeah.
And so they go talk to the last guy who saw their dad, who was this kind of corrupt back alley scientist guy who was trying to make weapons more or less using genetics.
Oh, okay.
And so he kidnapped the boys after their dad got away and escaped. And so he was going to use the boys as guinea pigs.
Wow.
And he then went and spliced their DNA with sharks.
That does sound a lot like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's giving me that vibe.
And
a little
basically, he blended their DNA with sharks. They, quote unquote, died.
Oh.
And
okay.
then he was like, oh, just send them down the drain and get rid of the bodies to his two henchmen.
Wow.
Who were who was a genetically modified lobster and swordfish.
Wow.
And they were literally just a swordfish and a lobster, but he spliced them with human DNA.
So they were now humanoid lobster and humanoid.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so they get sent down this sewer system, and then they come back up onto the shore because no one ever checks to see if the bodies actually are gone. They just kind of set them off and then walk away because it was the 80s.
Okay. Yeah.
Or, no, 90s.
I have no idea.
It was either mid 90s or late 80s, one of the two.
Okay.
But and so they wake up and they're like, "Man, I'm starving." And so they go find a hot dog stand where all of a sudden they then start to mutate into sharks.
Wow. Okay.
And there was one was spliced with a great white, one was spliced with a whale shark, another was a tiger shark, and then the last brother was a hammerhead. Mm-hmm. And basically their whole shtick was they thwarted the plans of the guy who turned them into sharks because he had a whole fiasco of trying to take over the world and something like that.
Yeah.
And they had this whole shtick where they were able to... The whole reason of them being called street sharks was that they could dive into the ground and swim through the ground.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
So they were basically just land sharks.
Land sharks, yeah.
It was the whole
Ray Lewis, for anybody who watches football.
It was the whole
that's his
cheesy
nickname.
action, like cool superhero thing that basically it was them trying to do a ripoff of Teenage Mutant
Ninja Turtles. I was gonna say that I'm getting some heavy vibes. It's hot dogs instead of pizza. It's sharks instead of turtles. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you said a starfish and a whatever the other thing was instead of...
It was a swordfish and a lobster. And oh my god, I just realized something. So, okay, there's a bit where they get found by someone who's a friend of theirs, who's basically, like, she worked with their dad.
Okay.
And she was, like, an assistant to him.
Yeah.
And she finds them, and they start kind of getting their whole base of operations set up. And she's like, so are you guys hungry? Like, yeah, we're starving. Mm-hmm. Well, how about I call in some pizza? And they're like, pizza? Oh, God, no way, Dad! Like, what the... That's a Turtles reference. Oh, my God. And I didn't realize that till just now. It took me 10 years to realize it was a fucking Turtles reference.
See, we just have to keep doing this podcast so you can realize... things you missed from your childhood. Tune in, everybody. Subscribe.
God.
Sign up for our Patreon. So you too can remember things from your childhood.
Oh my god. But yeah, so hopping back over, I would.
Oh yeah, comedy. Comedy's great.
Gabriel Iglesias is most definitely. I could definitely put him in my top roster of like favorite current comedian.
Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
Even now, I probably could.
For sure.
Now, in terms of like comedy movies,
yeah.
You
know, you were talking about Adam Sandler earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one movie that came out a while back, and I liked it. I actually enjoyed it. A lot of people, maybe not so much, but it was called Funny People, and it was a movie about comedians. And it wasn't so much like, oh, this is just a bunch of stand-up stuff. And there was a lot of stand-up performances and routines in the movie, but it had Adam Sandler, it had Seth Rogen, it had like Jonah Hill, and honestly I can't remember the rest of the cast, but it was a good movie. But what it really was is it was sort of like an insight behind the scenes.
It was basically like a blue collar comedy tour type movie.
I wouldn't call it blue collar comedy tour. I would maybe, I don't know. It's more of a
in terms of like comparison, because like the whole Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy.
That was more of like them off stage stuff. Yeah. A lot of it was that, yes, too. But it really kind of, a lot of the movie Funny People focused on Adam Sandler, and it was really interesting because in the movie they clearly did this on purpose, portrayed him this way in the movie, but like off stage and everything they sort of portrayed him as like this total douchebag, where he was like treating everybody like, and he was just upset all the time and foul moods. But then when he got on stage, he was really funny and everybody loved him. And so it's just this interesting perspective of like, you know, kind of the never meet your heroes kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it was actually a good movie. There were some feel good parts where, you know, I mean, it was just a good movie. I enjoyed it.
And again, like, I actually like Adam Sandler as an actor.
Yeah.
And, like, I never understood where... Because, like, Adam Sandler's probably... Like, in terms of acting and just movies in general... Like, you talk to a lot of people, and, like, Adam Sandler's, like, one of the most hated actors.
I don't understand that either. I think...
It's like the whole thing with Nickelback. Like, I never understood where the hate came for Nickelback or Adam Sandler. And I'll see... Like movie reviewers. I will watch movie reviewers on YouTube, and they'll talk about Adam Sandler in just this, like, evil way of, like,
the evil Adam Sandler got his hands on a green light for this next movie that he's going to put out.
I'm just like...
So what, you know?
I don't understand where all this hate is.
I don't either, honestly.
I mean, I guess some of his later movies were kind of meh and whatnot, but... Yeah. I don't feel like it's what made him like the comedy troll or whatever. Yeah. I mean, Jack and Jill was kind of a bleh movie,
right?
But
yeah, I think Adam Sandler is fine. Like, is he my favorite comedian? No, but it's definitely not one of the worst. I mean, I think he does get maybe a little bit too much hate. I don't understand that either. But in a similar vein, a lot of people are like that with Seth MacFarlane. You know, who does Family Guy,
American Dad,
yes. So
Orville,
yeah. So he's kind of divisive in the comedy community. Basically, people either love him or hate him. I'm a huge fan of Seth MacFarlane's comedy. I fucking love his comedy.
Oh yeah,
I think he's I think he is too.
Now, like I haven't seen the newest episodes of Family Guy or anything.
I haven't either. I have not either.
But I mean, I've seen clips. I love animated sitcoms.
Yeah,
like I enjoy them greatly.
Me too.
Now, do I feel like most of them nowadays might be reaching a little far?
Yeah, like especially when they're like agenda heavy, you know.
Yeah, like there were a few like I think the last box set I got from Family Guy was like season maybe 10 or something.
Yeah, I don't know
By
how
that
much
point,
I've
there were a few
missed.
episodes that I kind of felt were reaching.
Oh, yeah.
Or a little too.
I felt that way too.
biased.
I don't love every single Family Guy episode, but
Yeah.
I love like 90% of it. Right? Like
And
I love.
I mean,
Family
to
Guy.
me, at the very least, is Family Guy crude humor? Oh God, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Is
yes.
American Dad crude political humor? God, yes.
Now, I think I think American Dad may be a little bit more mild as far as like the profanity and like the crudeness.
Oh, yeah.
Like American Dad is a little bit more
Yeah.
mild. And yes, there are crude comedy scenes in American Dad for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
But it's a little bit more mild to the palate, I guess, than Family Guy would
I can
be,
actually
right?
agree to that because
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like the most outrageous character in American
Roger,
Dad,
100%.
Roger, and the goldfish.
Oh yeah, I forget the goldfish's name, but yeah,
Uh,
Clyde.
uh,
I don't know. I want to say it starts with a C.
oh my God, my brain.
It's been a Klaus. It's
Yeah.
been a while since I've seen American Dad. I used to
Yeah.
watch it pretty regularly, but not not
American
lately.
Dad was one of
It's
those
been
ones that
several
I
years.
watched every now and then.
I
I didn't
prefer-
watch it as much as Family Guy.
Yeah, I preferred Family Guy. Like I just thought Family Guy was.
I mean,
but
I-
yes, it is very crude humor. You have to be able to appreciate the humor. If you don't like the humor, you're not going to like the show.
Because, like, okay, the way, and I kind of made myself do this,
Yeah.
in a sense. Growing up in high school, I was a very emotional kid.
Yeah.
ADHD and all that whatnot. Diagnosed, but I was no longer receiving medication after a
Right.
while.
Yeah.
So I had to basically come up with ways of trying to temper my emotions
Yeah.
and not get taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I was being taken advantage of in school, like all the time. Mm-hmm. They saw me as thinking,
Oh, if you push this button, he's gonna cry.
and
That's-
they just loved
Yay,
doing that
high
because I was the
school.
overly emotional kid. I was
yeah.
the overly emotional kid who couldn't control his emotions, and he didn't know why. Because they don't really tell you what ADHD is. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I became an adult
That you found out
and-
about it.
Well, not even that I found out about it, but that I actually thought about and considered what ADHD was.
And also like really understanding yourself and
Yeah.
who you are and everything. Like I don't know about you, but I didn't really start understanding who I was as a person, really coming into myself until like mid to late 20s.
That's
Like,
about where
yeah,
I'm at.
right.
I actually started thinking about who I was mentally at about 28
Yeah.
or so.
Yep. It was pretty similar to me too.
So I had to figure out ways of like tempering myself, and so that basically developed into me developing a deep sense of humor.
Me
Like,
too.
A very deep and wide and varied sense of humor.
I did the exact
I
same
basically
thing.
exposed myself to all the different types of humors that I could.
It's such
that
a
way,
fantastic
that
coping
way,
mechanism.
Like, and self-deprecating humor was especially one that I got into.
Oh yeah, I did that for a
And-
while.
Oddly enough, there's a line from Family Guy that's
Yeah.
said by Chris,
Uh-huh.
and I can't remember what episode it was from, and I'm sure this line has been used in all kinds of other media, but this is just
Yeah.
the first. Him saying it's just what popped up, and it was, "If I couldn't laugh at myself, I'd be dead right now."
Yeah. One of my favorite lines, sort of in a similar tangent, the guy who plays Saul Goodman in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. He's a great guy, by the way. I can't remember his name, but he did a interview recently where I love what he said. He said that to him, comedy and humor is basically taking the bad things in life and taking the things that we just look at and kind of go, I don't like that, and finding some way to turn that into joy, and finding some way to turn that into humor and everything. It's like the best way to do that. You take it and flip it on its head, and I thought that was really great. And that's kind of how I view humor too, and that's why I use it as a coping mechanism, because a lot of times life sucks, people suck. But if you can just kind of make fun of everything,
Yeah, well, like,
that's kind of what I did, the way I look at it.
Like, there was a line that I learned, and this is when I first started listening to a podcast by Rob Paulson.
Yeah.
A great and amazing voice actor. I love this man to death.
Yeah.
He currently is one of my biggest influences in the voice actor realm.
Oh yeah.
and he's been in the business for years, and he has years worth of experience. And like when he made this podcast, Talking Tunes,
Yeah.
he had an outro, and this line that he would end every episode with. When I heard it the first time, my heart just like lit up in a flutter because I loved it, and it's a saying that I would love to get embezzled. I would love to have this hanging somewhere because it's just, I love it so much.
Embellished.
Thank you, embellished. Thank you. And it's basically, laughter is the best medicine, and the best part is you can't OD and refills are free.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's amazing.
I heard that the first time, like,
that's
I
amazing.
Loved that so much. Just hearing that, it lit my day. Just hearing that one bit, it lit the rest of my day after hearing that up, because I felt like it was true. And it does hold great truth.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because laughter does help so much.
Oh, it really does. It for me too. It's almost like a similar vein to music. How music can almost just sort of make everything better. If you're in a bad headspace, you listen to some of your favorite songs. To me, really good comedy is very similar to really good music in that it's just very good. It's very good at lifting your spirits and putting you in a good mood, and like you said, making everything better.
My mom, I love my mom to death. I'm a mama's boy at heart. And my mom was always very supportive. God, I couldn't think of the word. God damn it.
Yeah, we got
she
there.
was always very supportive of like my enjoyment of entertainment, and comedy, and just all this stuff. She's always been very supportive of me. And one of the things that she would love showing me off to her friends and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And so, like I said, like I kind of touched on, I did lots of impressions growing up. I did lots of impressions of like the Jim Carrey movies, Austin Powers especially. I don't care who you are. I love the Austin Powers movies.
I do too. Great. Yep, I do too.
Mike Myers is amazing.
Yes.
And just different like stand-up routines. Because like back in the mental illness episode, my chameleonism kicked in whenever I would watch movies, and I would
start to imitate.
Yeah, I would start to imitate and copy what I was watching on the stand-up routines or the movies, and that turned into me doing impressions.
Yeah.
And my mom would always show me off to her friends and other family members of me doing all these impressions. Like when I started like binge watching the Ace Ventura movies like on repeat, I started copying and impersonating the movies. My mom, we went to go visit my aunt one day, and my mom was, Adam, do your Ace Ventura impressions. Alrighty. And I basically spent like 5 minutes doing Ace Ventura impressions. And when my mom would take me bowling to basically hang out with her at the bowling alley, she would have me do bits of like Ace Ventura, Austin Powers. She had me do my Jeff Dunham impersonations where I would where I would do impersonations of like the Jeff Dunham puppets.
Yes. Great ventriloquist.
But that was always something that like I love that my mom thought I will, or at least I would like to have thought my mom thought I was good enough to just impress people. And like I would always get laughs. It wasn't even just her, so I actually do think I had something going, because in high school, I, out of nowhere, had one of my teachers in high school pull me out of class.
Oh, God.
He pulled me out of the middle of a classroom and brought me to his classroom so I could do impersonations of movies.
Wow. By the way, so not to circle back, but we were talking about Seth MacFarlane earlier. There's a movie he actually did where he was in the movie. I think it's called either 1,000 or 1,000,000 Ways to Die in the West.
1,000,000 Ways to Die in the West.
Have you seen it?
Amazing movie.
Yes,
I
dude.
love it.
I fucking love that movie.
Love that movie.
I do too. That movie got a lot of hate from people. I don't know if you knew that. A lot of people hated that movie. I love that movie.
What? Why?
I don't know. But it was great. I loved it. Okay. I only have one single complaint in the movie. Everything else about the movie, mwah, chef's kiss. Great comedy. But the one complaint I had, it was sort of a standout thing in the movie, in that all the other characters except for Seth MacFarlane's character, all the other characters, they live in the West, the old West, and they're like dirty. They wear cowboy hats and everything, and they're all disheveled and everything. But Seth MacFarlane's character just has these immaculate teeth. Like, they're white as pearls, and they glisten in the sun, and it just stands out so much in the movie. Like, everybody else looks like they have scurvy or whatever. They've eaten rattlesnakes for breakfast, and they go home and eat a can of beans, and they've been like shooting guns and they're dirty all day. And then Seth MacFarlane is just this clean, immaculate guy. He's got hair product in his hair and just these white, immaculate teeth. And every time he just opens his mouth to talk, it's like, you stand out, bro. That is my one thing about the movie.
For me, A Million Ways to Die in the West was my Blazing Saddles. And
okay.
At the time, I never heard of Blazing Saddles.
You know what?
When that movie came out, I had never heard of Blazing Saddles.
I don't think I've heard of it or seen it either. I'm not familiar with it.
Blazing Saddles is a Mel Brooks movie, number one.
Okay, all right.
And I wasn't the one who discovered this movie, by the way.
Okay.
I didn't know this movie existed.
How did it come onto your radar?
It came onto my radar from my wife.
Awesome. Okay.
My wife, whose parents would never let her watch things like Ed, Edd n Eddy or
The
Cat
Simpsons.
Dog.
I couldn't even watch The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
Was it the same for you?
Anything
Wow.
like that.
Yeah.
She was never exposed to stupid, dumb humor.
I could not watch Ed, Edd n Eddy. I could not watch Cat Dog. I could not watch SpongeBob.
Simpsons.
Simpsons. Any of that.
Oh, I was in the same boat. I couldn't either.
So, yeah, me.
I've talked about my parents before.
Okay,
Yeah,
what had happened
that's
was
great.
we were at...
How did you find out about it real quick?
My mom.
Seriously?
Okay. We were at a Walmart, right? And we were just perusing through like the $5 discount bin.
Yeah. Just find a cheap movie to
And
watch.
we weren't even looking to buy a movie.
Okay.
We were just looking through like, I wonder what they got.
You just
'Cause
happened to be
this
passing
wasn't
by.
our local Walmart. This
Okay.
was just a Walmart that we
Y'all were
stopped
out of town?
at. Yeah, we were
Okay.
out of town. We were actually on our way back home, and we stopped at this Walmart to pick up a couple of things.
Yeah.
And we were perusing the discount bin.
Yeah.
And my wife just pulls out, it's like, oh, hey, Blazing Saddles. I'm like, what's Blazing Saddles?
Yeah.
You don't know what Blazing Saddles is.
I never heard of it either, to be fair.
No. Should I? We're buying this
type of humor. To be, in my defense, it's this type of humor.
Oh, okay.
She looked at me so dumbfounded with the most incredulous look on her face. And she's like, we're buying this movie and we are watching it.
Nice.
We
Did y'all watch it that night?
I think so. I think
Nice.
either that night or the next day we got back to the house and we watched it. And like 5 minutes, well, not even 5 minutes in, not even 5 minutes into the movie, I pause it immediately and I look over to her. It's like, how in the hell did you watch this before me? Because she was right. All right, and I guess we'll go ahead and end our episode there.
Yeah.
If it wasn't already pretty much a given, we're comedy nerds.
Yeah, we are.
We love comedy. Comedy is probably, for me, my favorite genre of basically everything.
Humor is life. Yes.
Humor is the only reason I'm alive. So, on that note, we'll go ahead and end our episode here. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, comment, share.
Yes. Like, subscribe.
Subscribe.
Ding
hit
our
the favorites
dong.
list.
Ring our bell.
Go visit the Patreon.
Ish. Support us if you like it.
Yes, support us. Go to the Patreon. Leave comments.
Yeah,
tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us how much you hate us.
Well,
tell us if you like us.
Yeah. Nobody cares anyway. But let us know if there's any topics you want us to discuss so we can add to our list. We randomly do these every time, by the way, in case you guys don't know. We're this is strictly off the cuff. So hope you guys enjoy it.
And if, like he said, if there's any other subjects y'all want us to talk about, just leave it in the comments. Or even leave us some comments on what your favorite comedies are.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's your favorite comedian, past or present?
Yes. Discuss.
Let the flames war begin.
Suffer as I have suffered.
And we'll see y'all on the next episode of
Yes.
Nobody Cares. I'm Adam,
I'm Jared.
and y'all have yourself a wonderful day.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.